Well, Coach Prime is the hottest thing going in college football, and many have thought he may not be at Colorado too long. There may be a big boy in the college football world that comes calling, but could that big boy actually be from the NFL? Yeah, we've got an Athletic article detailing all of that. Welcome into the channel. I am John Kurtz. Here on this channel, we talk college football, college basketball, and conference realignment, all from a Big 12 angle. Please consider subscribing if you have not already. Hit that bell so you know when I go live. I'm live on Wednesdays and Sundays and throw in extra content like this in between as well. What a start it's been for Coach Prime and company. 9+ million viewers of a game that kicked off at 10 o'clock Eastern time last weekend against Colorado State. The impact that he has made so far in Boulder has been undeniable with a 3-0 start. Now maybe some of the luster will come off this weekend as they go play Oregon as 3 touchdown underdogs with a hurt Travis Hunter. But regardless, what he has done has been enough to make an impression on basically everybody, and that includes the NFL. Here's an article from The Athletic that talks about the potential future of Deion and the NFL. So The Athletic pulled 10 high-ranking team decision-makers to gauge the league's opinion on Sanders, and 7 of the 10, predicted that Sanders would receive interview requests for the offseason head coaching hiring cycle. The other 3 did not rule it out, but believed it was too early to make a prediction. Quote, "I definitely want to bring him in to hear what he has to say," an executive said. "He's a smart guy and a good coach who has had a lot of early success. You'd want to pick his brain to see if it could translate. He knows how to motivate his players. He's crushed the transfer portal, and maybe that would carry over into team building through free agency." So there's a direct quote from an NFL exec who's saying, like, look, I want to hear what the guy has to say. And that would probably be my stance on it too if I were somebody in the NFL. Because my initial thought here was like, hey, look, Coach Prime is such a magnetic name in college football that he can really game the system, especially in an NIL-fueled world, to be able to hoard talent. Not going to be that easy in the NFL, and there's a lot more parity in the NFL. And then you're talking about, like, hey, does his personality type work with guys? And I can definitely see it still working, but you lose some of the overwhelming advantage he's going to have in the college game by being able to just accumulate talent. Here's another quote from an executive. Quote, "He clearly has a plan to develop young men. It's worked to this point. He has no issue putting people in position to do what they do best, doesn't seem to micromanage, and knows his strengths." More from the article, it says, "Sanders has an obvious ability to relate to his players, and there's a belief that his success in the transfer portal would carry over into NFL free agency." Now, that's an interesting thought. Like, there's a salary cap and a limit on what you can do in the NFL, but if you're a magnetic enough personality and somebody that a player would really want to go play for, there can still be a draw there. You know, I think like the Chiefs, for instance, have been able to pull in guys. You know, it's been more back-end guys, but I think of like a Melvin Ingram, players like that the Chiefs have been able to get that probably had better options other places, but they want to go play with Patrick Mahomes and have a chance to win a Super Bowl. That sort of effect maybe Prime is able to have in the NFL, where it will give him a bit of a leg up. The article says he has also proved he can generate a spotlight his players appreciate, and Sanders has done an interesting job of manifesting motivation through different types of adversity, self-created or otherwise. And I think all that is very true, and it's a part of what we underestimated about him coming in here. Like, this guy is legit in terms of developing players, motivating, a lot of things that come along with being a head coach, that because of just how brash the whole idea seemed and how brash he was, many people kind of wrote off that as like a legitimate possibility for him in the position that he is in. The article says several of the executives characterize Sanders as CEO type of head coach who can oversee the operation from a grander scale, which is an important characteristic for a head coach. He has also hired highly regarded assistants, offensive coordinator Sean Lewis and defensive coordinator Charles Kelly, and Sanders delegates responsibilities to his assistants to draw upon their expertise. And though there have been some prolific college coaches who have failed spectacularly at the NFL level, the executives believe Sanders shouldn't be lumped in with that group. That's because Sanders has played in the NFL at the highest level and should understand how to get the most out of players because he'll understand what they need to be at their best. Generally speaking, past college to NFL failures happen because the coaches believe they could work with professionals identically as they did with student athletes, and that's been a disastrous recipe. Yeah, that is definitely a recipe for failure. Think like an Urban Meyer. You can't come in and be treating players in the NFL the way that you were in college and expect that to work. Urban Meyer had like that military background and all this stuff they talked about in Swamp Kings. Don't think that really flew very well in an NFL locker room. Is everything that Coach Prime is doing right now going to fly in an NFL locker room? Maybe not, but I think it is fair to expect that he would be able to tailor that a little bit, being that he was an NFL athlete himself and won at the highest level and a superstar. So in terms of dealing with egos, you would think he would have a pretty good idea of how to deal with that. So I see how this could translate. Again, I would still want to interview and really hear what the plan is, but he's done enough to get most people intrigued, and I would be one of those that would be intrigued if I were an NFL GM. The desire for NFL teams to interview Sanders would be to assess his plan to run a locker room, develop players, build a staff, work with the front office with roster construction, and sustain that success year over year. Quote, I love the energy he creates, and his players would respond to it, a general manager said. I would think you have to at least sit down and talk with him. He's a leader, smart, a great marketer, and he has the credibility as a player and now adding to it as a coach. That's another thing. I think his message probably would resonate better than some just because he is somebody that now has legitimate credibility built up. He's got the credibility to go along with the marketing genius and the brand that he is. I think he would be someone that's going to be credible to NFL players. But there are two important questions. Now we get to a part of the key here. Does he actually want to do it? That's one of the questions. First and foremost, would Sanders even want to jump to the NFL? With the new name, image, and likeness rules in the transfer portal, Sanders essentially has untapped resources to build out his roster rather than having to deal with a salary cap and a draft system designed to maintain parity. A few of the executives believe Sanders wouldn't want to leave the college game, though that wouldn't stop them from trying to bring him in for an interview. And I will say a part of this college football season is going to be how does he deal with adversity, because it will be coming. The Pac-12 is far too good. It's an awesome conference right now. And we may start to find the answer out this weekend. But how is he going to deal with legit adversity if they do go through a little rough patch this season? I would want to see some of that and how he reacts to that. But if it does continue to go really well at Colorado, maybe he does look around and say hey, I can game the system here. I can be the next guy that's going to win multiple championships here at the college level, and I don't want to go risk that in the NFL, where you'd get tossed aside much faster. It says, and if Sanders maintains this success, it's only a matter of time before higher profile programs with even bigger budgets come calling. The Alabama job might be the most coveted in the nation when Nick Saban retires, and there's a belief in league circles that time isn't far away. Well, that's a hell of a nugget just buried deep in this story, right? There's a belief in league circles that the time isn't far away when Nick Saban would just hang it up, call it quits at Bama. There's no shortage of big-time programs with deep pockets that would surely be enticed by Sanders' success and marketability if their current coach stumbles. Quote, I think he gets head coaching interview offers this year, an evaluator said, but I believe he's better in college where he can tilt the scales and dominate the talent pool with his ability to recruit. I think he would be successful in the NFL too, but could really create a long-term powerhouse in college. And then a GM agreed. Quote, I just think Deion can dominate for an extended time in college. He'll have to deal with parity in the NFL. He might not have the same impact he has in college because he'll be limited in how many guys he can bring in and attract because of the cap and the draft. And then the other question it points out is, how's the rest of the season going to go? So those are two very big things to raise here. We're 3 games in. The meat of the schedule is coming up. Back-to-back weeks here, they've got Oregon and USC. We could have a much different view of how this whole thing is going in a couple weeks, and maybe a lot of the shine would be off of it. But certainly I am done doubting Coach Prime. Not that I was a huge doubter coming into the year, but I was definitely pretty skeptical of how exactly it would go. He's made a believer out of me that he definitely knows what he is doing. So if he wants it, it does seem like an NFL opportunity potentially will be there at some point for him. So, look, I would love for him to stay at Colorado. I want the guy in the Big 12. Definitely want that. At least give us a couple of years. But this kind of makes clear there are going to be suitors coming from all over, far and wide, at the college level, NFL level, etc., for Coach Prime based on what is happening right now. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. I'm live on Wednesdays and Sundays. The live shows are a lot of fun. We're always talking conference realignment, college football, college basketball from a Big 12 angle here on this channel. Like the video. I would appreciate that. You can support the channel on Venmo at John-Kurtz-4. Take care. Thank you for being here, and I will talk to you guys all soon.